Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So glad you're tuning in today. Hope you're having an awesome day so far. Today I'm going to talk about a word that freaks a lot of people out, and that's sales. And it doesn't have to be that way. You may be thinking when I say that word, like you may have an image of someone in your mind when you think about sales, like a salesperson. And you also might be afraid of selling. Like a lot of people are just afraid of selling. Like I hate sales. I hate the feeling of being salesy. And I just want to share something with you before we get into the meat of this episode, which is I'm going to teach you everything, not everything, but I'm going to teach you what I've learned over the my 30-year sales career. I don't know it all. I'm constantly learning. I'm always looking to learn new things because people's behaviors are constantly changing and they're getting smarter, and stuff that worked, 30 years ago doesn't necessarily work today. A lot of it does, but a lot of it doesn't. So you may be thinking that this is something that's super challenging and just not your jam, right? And I just want to tell you that the best salespeople, they don't ever sell. They don't. And to make you understand that comment a little bit better, like I'm a sales guy. Like I know when it's happening to me. I know when I'm with a good salesperson, right? And usually the decision to buy is made before I even talk to this person, right? So if you have everything lined up, you're like your offer's good and your messaging is good and your follow-up is good and you're a great listener and you're just letting me make the decision that I want to make, that's when sales becomes pretty easy. Now, it's never always going to be simple, but you make it too way too complicated, right? People are afraid of objections. You're afraid of, having these conversations with people. And I'm telling you, it's not as challenging as you make it out in your head. So I'm going to walk through a couple things here that maybe will change your perspective when it comes to sales, right? Because again, it's something I think we're all fearful of. We want to get better at. Like if you have a business, if you're in business, you're selling a product or a service, like this is something that you just have to get good at. You have to master it, period. Otherwise, you're not going to sell anything. So it's something that you have to really understand that is a necessity, and it doesn't have to be crippling for you. So let me just tell you, number one, what sales is about, what this is all about. And this is very simple. I try to break it down in the simplest format possible. It's about letting people go where they know they want to go, right? They want to go somewhere. They want to make a change. They want a solution. They're talking to you. Take them where they want to go versus just spitting out how awesome your stuff is. You got to take them on a journey, and they have to do this on their own. They have to feel like they're making the decision and you're just guiding them. And you do that by asking the right questions and understanding their situation. I'll get into that here in a minute. And a lot of salespeople, I hear this a lot, and you guys know this phrase, which is, if they don't get the result or the sale, or the person says no, right? Or they're not buying, you'll hear this comment, which is, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I say, that's bullshit. Okay. Number one, there's a couple things that happen. If you're saying that, either you did not lead the horse, the prospect, to water, right? They're still walking towards it and they're very far away in some cases, or your water tastes like shit, which means your offer sucks. So you didn't do a good enough job to convince the person or show the person, or have them convince themselves that, hey, your water is awesome and I need to drink it or I'm going to die. So that when I hear that comment, I just say, well, you just did a crappy job. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. Now, are there exceptions to that? Sure. Some people can never get out of their own way, but don't use that as an excuse. You just need to look at it and say, hey, did I lead this prospect to the water, and is my water worth drinking? All right, because you're going to get objections, right? When they get to the water, you're going to get objections, and I'm going to go over that here during this episode, because that's what really freaks a lot of people out, is like, hey, objections, I can't handle that. And I'm going to go over that in a minute. But what I want you to understand about people that you're talking to, especially if you don't have a physical product. Like it's easier to sell physical products because people can touch them, they can feel it, they can see it. Like they know that there's certainty in this. Like, hey, this thing that I'm going to buy, this widget or this car or whatever, like I know it's going to work for me. Like I love it. I can see it. If you're selling like a program, a course, or an end result that involve, coaching or something, or weight loss, like they can't see it. All they can see is maybe some other clients that you've worked with. They can't see it themselves. They can see a little bit of it, but they're not convinced. So people are going to fight you. This is what you need to understand, is that people are in their comfort zones. They like to be in their comfort zones. It feels good there. There's certainty there, even if the comfort zone is crappy and they don't like it and their life sucks. Like, that's where they're going to stay. They want to stay there, and they are going to fight you to stay in their comfort zone. This is what salespeople don't understand. Okay, is that your prospects are going to fight you to stay in their comfort zone. They're going to say things like, "Hey, I don't have money, or I don't have enough time to do this, or I got to talk to my partner, or I need time to think about it." That's them telling you, like, "Hey, I like it over here." There's certainty. I'm not sure about this thing. I'm not ready to make a change. So we're going to talk about how to overcome that, but I want you to get in this frame of mind of thinking that no matter who you're talking to, if you do 10 sales calls, right? If you do have 10 client calls, prospect calls, whatever you want to call it, only one of them is probably going to be a laydown, right? Where it's like, yeah, I'm ready to roll. Let's do this. The rest of it's going to be a series of, you got to lead them to the water, and they need to drink it. They need to understand that they need to drink this water or they're going to die. And that might take follow up. That might take multiple calls. Like, not everybody's going to be ready on day one or call number one. So it's your job to make sure that you understand what their current situation is and have a full understanding of that current situation. And if they do change, what does that look like for them? What does that look like for them? And they have to tell you in their own words. And if they don't change, what does that look like for them in their own words? Like, if you don't make a change today, what does life look like for you 6 months, 12 months from now? And if you do make a change, what does it look like for you 6 months, 12 months from now? And who does it impact? Like, and it's not just about money. Like, it's got to be more emotional than that. I talk about that all the time. Like, people are motivated by money to a certain extent, but there's always a deeper meaning. There's always a deeper why or reason behind it. It's usually emotional, right? It's tied to family, maybe their kids or their spouse, or they've got something to prove, right? It's not just about money. Everyone thinks it's about money. That's just a very, very small part of it. So remember, it is your job to take them where they want to go. And how we do that is by understanding their current situation, right? If you don't know where someone's at right now, you're dead in the water. You got no chance of leading them anywhere or helping them make the best decision for them, right? And not trying to ring the cash register and just collect their payment, right? You need to make sure that you have a full understanding of where they are right now, because you may not be able to help them, right? You can't necessarily help everyone. So understand where they are. People want to be heard. They want to feel like they're heard. And then you start asking questions in a way that, like, all right, well, how long has this been going on for? And do you think it's time to make a change, right? Who is this impacting? And is it time for you to make a change? And what happens if you don't? Like, what is the cost of you not doing anything, of you staying in this comfort zone, in this feeling of certainty that you have? Like, what is the cost to you if you continue to do that? And that's going to always come up in objections. So when you're going through a call, guys, I have a lot of calls. I have a lot of conversations with people. I've had, in DMs, I have a lot of conversations on Zoom. I'm doing it for years, right? For years. And you get a lot of different responses and comments, but there's always stuff that repeats itself, right? And when it comes time for people to make a change, again, I can always just see them fighting for it. And just words come out of their mouth, fighting to stay in their comfort zone, in their current situation. Like, they just don't want to make a change, even if they know that it's time to make a change. Like, if they didn't feel that a change was necessary, they wouldn't be on the call with you. So just always understand that. Like, they're here, they've taken step one. Like, booking the call with you is a huge step for them. Like, they're going in the right direction. You just got to keep getting them to the water, if you will, right? And then they got to decide whether or not they're going to drink, but you have a ton of influence over that. So the objections are usually all the same. if you get to the point where it's like, hey, my program is, you tell them like, hey, the price is $5,000. My program to help you achieve this awesome result is $5,000. Inevitably, most people are not going to be like, all right, let's do it. Now, again, that will happen 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10. But most of it, there's going to be some type of an objection. And you have to, if you're not ready for that, you're dead in the water. So embrace it. Just understand like, hey, people are going to ask about these 4 areas, right? They're going to say, hey, I don't have enough. Money is an issue. Like either they don't have it or they think it's too much. Time. Like I need more time. I need time to think. I don't have enough time. And then, or I need time to think about it, right? That happens. You've probably said that yourself. You're stalling. You're just not ready. Again, you're in your certainty, your comfort zone. Like you're fighting. You're fighting to stay where you are. And then I got to the other one that I love is I got to ask my partner. I got to ask my spouse, right? And that's legitimate, right? Some of these financial decisions are there, but there's not much else you can say because you, as the prospect, don't want to say to them, "Well, this is I don't need this. This you did a crappy job." Like most people don't say that. They give an objection, and an objection is them basically saying to you a couple of things. Number one, I'm not really convinced of this right now, or I am really fighting to stay in my comfort zone. It could be a combination or one of the two. So when we have these money objections, it's like I always just look, nobody has any money. Anyone that I talk to, I just always assume that they don't have money. The reality of it is that they do. They know that they're on this call with you, that you offer a product or service. It's not free. They have an idea of what it might cost them or the investment might look like, but nobody has any money. All right. And I always look at that. And the best analogy that I can make, and I've heard this recently, is there's just value attached to it. When you're selling a service, it's hard for people to tangibly touch the thing and see it, like see the end result. If I said to you, okay, I want you to think about right now what your dream car is. Like visualize your dream car in your head. Like for me, it's an Audi R8, right? And that car is about $250,000. Just say something like that. Well, that's a lot of money, and I'm not going to go buy it right now. But if I'd want the car like bad. I love it. I plan to have one day. Well, if I walked into the Audi dealership and the thing was $5,000, you better believe it. I would pay 5 grand on the spot, no questions asked. So I've got the money. And if I didn't have $5,000, I would go beg and plead and borrow to get it. I'd ask family, I'd get resourceful, right? So people have money. They just tell you that they don't. Maybe they don't have money right now, or maybe they just didn't think that your service was going to cost $10,000. Maybe they thought it was going to be 200. There's always a gap, so you got to fill that gap. So use the car example as you don't have to necessarily tell that to your prospect, but just think of it in terms like that. They don't see the value in what you're offering. Like an Audi R8 for $5,000 is a no-brainer. Well, if you did an awesome job in your prospecting call, your sales call, and your product or service is $10,000 or $5,000, and you did an awesome job, and they see the value in that, like, oh, well, this is going to be 50 grand, and you tell them it's 5,000, it's like it's a no brainer. Yeah, I got the money. Look at a money objection from that standpoint, and you'll have a better understand. You'll have a better time with it because again, no, I know people who have tons of money that have told me they don't have any money. All right. So everyone says that nobody's got any money. And that kind of pulls at the heartstrings, right? Now, some people don't have money and it might be a little bit more difficult for them to get it. But money's everywhere. Like you have to have this abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset. Like we're printing money left and right. Like literally money is everywhere. It's easy to get money. Banks, credit cards, like family, friends, there's just you help them be resourceful with it and you can have a much better experience. And if that's the only objection, it's like, hey, all right, is this the only objection? You have to isolate it, then you can move on and hey, let's roll. Let's do this thing, right? Let's change your life because that's what they want. That's why they're there. They want to change. They want something better. So the other objection that you would have would be time, right? Hey, like I don't have enough time. I don't have time to do this, or I need to think about it. First of all, do you really need to think about it? Like if you did a good job in the beginning of the call, making them out loud speak their pain. Like, hey, if I don't do this, I'm going to live with this stress. I'm not going to make enough money. I'm going to miss my kids grow up, whatever the situation is. It's like, hey, you told me that all these things. Like, what is adding more time going to do for that? Like, what do you need to think about? And say that. Like, what is it that you need to think about? Help me understand that. Because again, that's just a tactic for them to, not necessarily a tactic. They don't even realize they're doing it. They're fighting to stay in their comfort zone because making change is scary because people can't see the end result. So it's always your job to make them see the end result. Like, what does that look like? And you do that by asking them, like, hey, what would it look like for you? Like, if you were able to start your own business, again, I talk to people that I coach to start their own businesses. Like, what would it look like for you if you started your own business and you were able to get more time back with your family? Like, how would that make you feel? And you just let them respond, right? And then when they say they need to think about it, like, you said this is what you gave me. Like, what do we need to think about, right? And then it normally just goes back to, and that's just, again, that is just them fighting you. Then it normally just goes back to money. Usually stuff goes back to money, and or they don't believe that your solution will help them or it's worth it, right? So the money thing is, oh, you're always going back to that. The other stuff is, those are just objections because they have the money and, like, they're just not convinced, right? They're just not convinced that this is the move for them, or they're still fighting for their to stay in their comfort zone. The partner, spouse, like, I got to talk to my partner, I got to talk to my spouse. Like, okay, well, look, I get it. I've used that. I say that all the time, and there have been times where I have not spoken to my spouse. Like, I've just done it. Money usually has something to do with that. Like, if something's over a certain dollar amount, I normally have a rule. Well, we have a rule, like, hey, if it's over this dollar amount, we got to talk about it. Otherwise, I don't spend it. But it's really just a conversation. So just remember that's okay, that objection. But then it's like, how do you handle that? It's like, yeah, I get it too. Like, empathize with them. I get it too. I'm married. I don't want to get divorced by if I spend $10,000 and I don't tell my partner, my wife. But how you want to handle that is, do you think that she would support you if you told her what this would do for you, right? Like, you've been in this position now. Again, what is the cost of you staying in the position that you're in, which is missing family time and feeling burned out and working too many hours and missing your kids grow up, right? What is the cost for that? If you can convince her, like, what would you tell her? That's the key, is like, what would you tell her? Or, if women, what would you tell him? What would you tell your husband? What would you tell them about how I can help you? And then let them speak it again, speak it out loud in their own words, and then invite them, follow up call, invite the partner on the call. Like, hey, a lot of my clients been in this situation. I've personally been in this situation because I've been in this situation where it's always helpful if you're on the call. Bring your partner, bring your spouse on the call, and we'll talk it out, right? Because it's a lot of money. I get it. It's not an insignificant amount. But always go back to, hey, what is the cost if you don't do this? What is the cost if you don't make this change and you stay in your current situation? Guys, you have to remember, again, they're on this call for a reason. They're not just checking you out. That's just stuff they say, right? That's just stuff they say. They're testing you out. Like, again, the dukes are up, the guards are up. It's your job to disarm them, make them feel comfortable. It's a safe spot. Ask them questions, get them talking, and just lead them exactly where they want to go. They know what's happening. People are not dumb. They want to go to the water and they want to drink the water. But again, if your water tastes like shit, they're not going to drink it. And if you don't lead them to the water, if you don't show them this awesome, spring water that's going to change their life, right? Then they're probably not going to buy from you. So you have to show them that, and they have to convince themselves that, hey, this is what I want to do, and they got to do it on their own. Like, if you're just pumping out features and benefits, you're not going to get a lot done. So, thinking of sales, recapping here, I just want you to understand that this is not doesn't have to be as difficult as you make it out to be. Can't help everybody. Now, you personally may not be able to help everybody, but you can always start a call and be like, look, if I can't help this person, what resources can I give them? And who else can I refer them to? Because they just may not be a fit for you, right? Whether it's their goals, what they want, and or their budget. Like, look, some people are strapped with budget. I get that. Most people can find the money if they really want to change. But you have to remember they're on that call with you because they do want to change. They want something different. And it's your job. That's what I always look at it. It is your job to show them what's possible and to also show them what is going to occur if they don't make a change. If you can go at it with that approach, I just think you're going to have a much better time when you're having conversations with people, and you won't feel like, hey, I'm just constantly selling or I'm salesy all the time. It's just, hey, we're two human beings, we're having a conversation. You're the expert. They're coming to you for a reason. Like, right, they booked the call with you. You didn't force them to do it. They chose to fill out your application, get on your calendar, and they chose to show up. So now you need to do your part and make sure that you're leading with value and helping them get to where they in their brain know they want to go. Like, they want to do this. All right, they do. So if you have the right prospect, if you have the right person, your ideal client, it's really hard to mess this up if you go at it from that mindset, right? From that frame of mind. I hope that's helpful. If you think this episode is awesome, please share it. I thank you for tuning in every week. Make it an awesome day, and I'll see you on the next one.